Mr. Hassan B. Hassan. He's a construction safety expert and is just reviewing the building collapses in Nigeria as a national concern. The other thing that you notice, there's a pattern. It might be happening, but you're not usually called to a bungalow site where a bungalow has collapsed. It could happen. Usually these are multi-story buildings. It immediately says to you that the technique and technology of building a multi-site structure is widely different from that of a bungalow, even though certain standards must apply. There are different stresses and all of that kind of a thing, all of which can be measured for and provided for such that if you're going to go 6 stories, there are going to have to be some preparations.
Yes. A good solid foundation that will take, that will take the number of floors that you want to build. And in some cases, like some collapse that we've seen in the past concerning Ebute Meta area and all that. If you look at those buildings, the foundation before, was maybe meant for just a 2-story or just a story building. And just because the owner has passed on and the children need to make more money, they don't consider what the foundation is, and they just put
put something on top of that structure that exists.
Yes, and to me, that's also regulations when the regulation also needs to come in, because you need to have submitted. And at times, like some of what in those days, what some of our fathers do is that the foundation at times can take maybe 6 stories. 6 floors, and they just leave it at 2.
Yes.
So that's what makes the agents to go back and say, okay, what was submitted at the initial stage to know the kind of foundation that
this building has,
yes.
And so know what can be done.
And it takes, how will I say, patience to do that, because you start looking for files where, something that was built in 1940, something, before you get.
It's not that easy to take a physical examination. It's not as easy as that.
So
somebody can't, an agency can't come around and say, okay.
It's not easy for those developed areas because it's already in existence. So you need to go back to see what were, the reports on that building.
And hopefully that was accurately recorded. And so you now base what you're saying now on records that you are trusting.
If you look at in the past, I must give it to, we had good records, whether we like it or not. When before we started having, what they call it, development boom, all over Nigeria. The records, because then, for every building, you have somebody who is responsible, who is in charge. Well, here, we're talking about, last cannot be efficient, but have you looked at the number of personnel that they have? Is it, the number of personnel that to go around, are they adequate?
So
somebody may be, for a region, maybe for the whole of Ikoyi, it might be just one person who is the resident engineer.
Is that would that be a public official? Would that be a government official?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because we are talking about an agency, and that's where collaboration also needs to come in with professionals, consultants that that at least that can be held accountable. If I'm giving you a report of a structure and all that, it should be accurate. So if you find out that it's not, then I should be prosecuted for for sending you a false report, because the agency alone cannot how do I say do it alone with the number of personnel they have, with the spread and all that.
Because it will cause a delay.
It's to cause a delay.
A delay because some people will have to wait for the officials to get to them.
And from there, you see people saying, oh, can't we just do it this way and all that? Oh, okay, I'll get back to you. You can go ahead and start and all that. It's trying to look good.
This is where accidents can happen.
And this is where accidents, do occur.
And I suppose one of the biggest factors now, we're talking about the Banana Island one, which is seen as a highbrow area. And but buildings generally, it's not about highbrow or lowbrow. It's about the safety of buildings. Now, costs no doubt factor into this. there was a time in the not too distant past where a figure of 5 million naira, for example, a person wants to build a basic bungalow. There was a time when you could do most of it within that figure, within that range. A bungalow. Now I understand that no, it's not going to work like that anymore. Not with the way prices are now. No. But still, people will want to try and
manage.
They will try to manage because they will be hearing what the kind of thing I've just said, which is very commonplace, that 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, in some rural areas, a bungalow might not set you back more than, if you don't want it fancy. Of course, you can make a fancy bungalow that would cost you 100 million if that's what you wanted. But very, very skint level, most basic, you would have a secure structure over your head if it was a bungalow at 5 million naira. That's not going to be the case nowadays, is it?
No, it's not. Because even with the price, I mean, and that's where we also need more public housing. Because the more, and let me give you, take a look at most of the developments of the government. Have you seen anyone collapsing in the recently?
Well, no, you don't get them.
Because collapsing. You have those who are, the facade may be awful, the interior may be crude,
but structurally they will do the right thing.
So if you have those people in the system, so why are they not the ones also being part of the agency to ensure that we have good structures?
That's the big bucks question. That is the real big bucks question. Why are these same people not all over the place inspecting buildings? Although, as soon as you put an X over somebody's building, which I think indicates that there's something the authorities are not too happy about with this building, and you need to clean it up before you continue. People just take that as an opportunity to go and do the right thing, quote unquote. The right thing in this case is not fixing whatever the agency is unhappy with, which might be administrative. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the brown envelope thing comes back. It's such a crude thing to say that bribery and corruption also factors in.
It is what it is.
It is.
It is what it is, and we need to also, try to stem that. And that's where accountability comes in. If somebody has, if a structure been marked defective, and somebody goes behind and say, okay, you can continue and all that person should be held accountable. It's straightforward.
Mazi Okoroafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. You're a good man, I guess.
Yes.
You see, what we are facing today is not fair. Somebody will say that the scientists are not, but it's true. Researchers have told us that in 20 to 50 years to come, that many buildings will be collapsing in Nigeria because of land reclamation. Waterways, people will be reclaiming areas that are supposed to claim from, because at least I witnessed a building that was 2 weeks ago. I saw the government, the waterways and the stream, they are taking 3/4 of it. I started asking, he said, well, because that is going to plaster the place, and I laughed. I said, well, let's wait and see what will happen in future. Now, you ask yourself, where is Ministry of Works and Housing? Where is Urban Development? Where are they? Where people start building? And the standard organization, what are they doing? If you go to the market, because when this issue started coming up every day, I called one engineer, I said, well, brother, what is happening? He said, okay, let me tell you the truth, what is happening in Nigeria. That if you go to building materials, where they are selling all these materials for building, that you see, say that you are looking for 12 mm. Because they want to cut corners, they will carry 10 mm and give the buyer. Now, what are they saying? You carry 2 mm is up, you are collecting 10 mm. At the end of the day, the owner of the building who has given that contract to somebody don't even know what is happening in the building. And even the cement we use, when you apply cement, there are some things you will allow cement so that water will do not, will enter. But people don't do. As they continue building, going straight, nothing, no full stop, no comma, nothing. Now, why would the building be collapsing? But the question is this, the way forward. If the authority consigns that we are serious, they should be monitoring all buildings, no matter the type of places they are. What is the job of local government authority, Minister of Housing? What are they doing? Local government authority, it is their job to monitor all these buildings, that whether it is waterway or waiting way. Because Proper monitoring is very, very important. The envelope you are talking about, the envelope, you cannot stop it in Nigeria because as they say, 50% or 60% of Nigerians that are hungry, that their salary cannot go, that their salary cannot cover their house, they cannot go to the. That is why they cut corners. At the detriment of the owner of the building. And even so, you give somebody contract. Look at, ask yourself, some of these estates they do it, they take it to parking. You buy 20 million, 10 million, go there. After 1 year, you see that some of the materials have started peeling. You see, they say 419 materials have built houses and sell it to people. And the owners, the buyers, don't even know. So that is the issue. Please, if you want to build a house, close your eyes, look for the material, like what one of our brothers did, evangelist Owasaya. He wanted to build a house. He just went to the market, bought all those higher trailers, and so pack all those. He spent 2 weeks. He was there when they were doing all this by himself. At the end of the day, it's very, very comfortable. That is what I just be doing. Don't give your contract and if you go the supervisors, pay supervisors to the monitoring what they are using. Ground, the foundation matters. But we don't care. We just be everything just with the coated fence. At the end of the day, you'll be hearing collapsing. Building will continue collapsing, because they have told us climate change. Yes. But we have to be very careful so that human beings will not be dying like Sardine. Good morning. Have a nice day.
Good morning, Mazi, and thank you very much for calling in. He's said it all. So he's saying his own recommendation is that, look, let's not talk too much Turenshi grammar. Self-builds, it seems to be what is required now. Because there's a difference between a 10 mm rod and a 12 mm rod.
I agree.
And a 13 and a 14 and a 15. And people will look at it and say, let's manage it. No, you don't manage it.
Even anything. for the ones that you're talking about, they might even tell you that it's a 10 mm rod. But when you now go for the testing, it looks like, exactly.
Yes.
But when you now test that reinforcement iron, you find out that
it's not up to spec.
It's not up to. I've had several times that we have asked
so in other
the
words,
supplier to come back and take them away from a site that it doesn't, because
it doesn't meet specifications.
Yes.
It can't bear the weight or the load or the stress.
Correct.
When it was tested in a
Correct.
laboratory. And
so these are part of the problems that
so it's a very dangerous industry, quite frankly.
It is. Construction is very. It's one of the most. How will I say? We call it where you have all the big hazards happening in the world. The construction industry is where, and you have to be careful where you are. Trying to ensure that you put safety, because your safety also. Safety also begins with you.
Yeah.
That's trying to ensure the safety of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you also have to be careful to say, look, I'm going to continue with this, or I'm just going to move away if safety is being compromised. And construction safety has to do with ensuring the safety of workers on site, the visitors that will be on your site, the immediate public around the construction site, and your product, ensuring that it's safe.
You see some of that with big projects. When I say big projects, it's because I'm relating everything down to a little bungalow. But you see 4 or 5 story building, and you see some of those developers are doing it right. They have these chain mail curtains, so that if anything were to fall, it's contained and all of that. So there are some that do it right, but I'm imagining it's not going to be cheap for a person to arrive that has all those facilities and all that equipment, that is to say, the professional builder. But what Mazi Okorafor, who called him from Arochukwu, was saying there was that he said somebody he knows just took the spec from a quantity surveyor, went to the market himself, hired a trailer, and bought most of those things and put them to site. Now, that might be being very, very careful, but you've just said that, that formula is also good, and without prejudice to it, how do you know that thing you are buying as 18 mm rod is indeed 18 mm rod?
Yori, he said something. He took, what they call it, the BOQ from someone, and that BOQ is from a professional.
Yes.
So, if you are going to the market to buy what the things, fine. But on getting to site, is it going to have professionals also coming in to help test the materials?
So what you're saying is
So
that
you cannot move away from the.
It's a collaborative security.
Yes.
It's a collaborative expertise endeavor.
Correct.
You got to have experts from different. So it's very hard, except for the rare person. There will be one or two rare people that can actually do it all by themselves.
And the person who has gone to the market may also have a resident engineer that's sound, that's registered with current, that's registered with common, that can take, okay, this is fine, this is good, we can go ahead with it. It might not be the one doing you might do the purchase of the materials, but not the actual construction.
The actual construction. And that, what you're implying there is that the actual construction could impact negatively on, the right materials that you have bought.
Correct.
If
you have all the materials, good materials and all that, but if you're not getting the mix right, if you're not getting the reinforcement, where the reinforcement are supposed to be laid out and all that, if you're not getting it correctly, then everything that you've done comes to a waste. So you must have a person who is knowledgeable, who can take out responsibility for that construction. And that's where a professional comes in.
And it's not going to be doing charity work.
It's not.
So I'm adding to the costs. Adding to the costs.
Yeah, but for you to have, it's not everyone of us that's going to be driving a Mercedes-Benz or a limo around. Whatever your money can afford, you buy. If you Toyota Camry,
so it comes back to the attitude that we don't seem to have a serious enough attitude to issues of safety when it comes to the way we're going about buildings here.
Yes.
And this reminds me, in the West, you often hear that, this building, they might have converted it to something for, rent for flats now, but you'll be hearing that this building was erected in 1897.
Correct.
And it is still solid. It's still solid. It's, in fact, more solid than what we're building nowadays. So they have a tradition going back to before 1900 where they've been doing it right simply because their system does not allow them or tolerate they're doing it wrongly. Correct.
Even when it comes to renovation, standards are being followed. I used to stay somewhere in Overstone where you have where Shakespeare was born in the UK, Northampton. And if you see the buildings in that area, they are no modern buildings. These are buildings of time immemorial.
Oh, yes. I mean, Stratford upon Avon,
And you see the buildings, and this has been, but what they put in for renovation, the standards of,
Okay, maybe because we went and mentioned Shakespeare and Stratford upon Avon. Bayo has called in from London. Good morning to you, Bayo. Good morning, Bayo in the UK.
Yeah, from UK. My name is Adebayo, yeah.
Adebayo, good morning to you, sir. You're welcome. Go ahead, please.
Morning. Yeah, so my background is, I'm a civil engineer by background. And when it comes to construction, because it's really unfair when we see Nigerians here, when we see what's happening in Nigeria. You hear building collapsing all the time. The first thing I want to say is that, first of all, who is the engineer on site? If you do that in UK, you get locked up. Whatever you do, whatever materials that you use, has to be certified.
Correct.
So what is Current doing in Nigeria concerning all this?
Current, I hear you. Current being the Council of Registered Engineers of Nigeria. So
exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, what are they doing? Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
They need to take the bull by the horn and start locking people up.
I hear you. Well, thank you very much for calling in and contributing, Bayo. You had mentioned this, earlier.
Yes.
That, the Council of Engineers and I think the builders also
NIOB,
have their own,
Yes. But one thing you need to realize that there is an individuals from this institution that are now professionals. Until they are found wanting, until the government says that this person is found wanting, Current cannot do anything.
I understand.
Unless the person goes, how will I say, does not adhere to the ethics of the profession. That's when current Carbon NIOB can sanction
Just
that
like
person.
any other professional body,
Yes.
like the medical council, like whoever.
I am an
anybody.
assessor surveyor and valuer, a registered assessor and valuer here in Nigeria. If I carry out a valuation that does not depict the real value of a property, and if that property is going to go for sale, maybe the person, my client, wanted to take a loan from the bank, and I had to, maybe I inflated the figure just for him to be able to get that loan. And once my client defaults, the property,
I find that it's not
find
worth
that even
much.
the value is not what. I mean, that's a grand.
That's unprofessional.
It's unprofessional,
That's
and I'll be
unethical.
sanctioned by the.
Exactly.
I'll be sanctioned by the Nigerian Survey and Value, and at the same time, I'll be prosecuted.
Exactly.
And I will also lose my license.
So that's the kind of thing
So
Adebayo
that's-
from the UK was
yes,
supposed to- where are those people? Where are these checks and balances, which is where we started from? Adebayo might not have joined us at the
It
time.
goes back to the agency to ensure that these people are present.
The building control agency.
To ensure that a resident engineer.
You remember I was very harsh and I said they're not controlling anything. Because if these things are happening, but you have to deal with them, so you decided in a more diplomatic approach. Say,
It's not the-
I wouldn't go as far. But
At times,
what are they controlling?
I'll give you an example. About some 3 or 4 months back, there was a building around Ebute under construction. And the building started tilting.
Like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
And the owner was told that, look, it's better you bring down this building.
Yeah.
The guy didn't, ignored and continued until I had to write. I didn't even go directly to the, because I'm an emergency volunteer also for
Yes.
the Lagos State Safety Commission, and also
But he didn't like the idea of pulling down the building,
himself.
even though it had begun to list.
until, and that's why I said at times, the agency also may be overwhelmed. Like we talk about personnel and everything,
I hear you.
resources and all that. But immediately they got that letter from the Lagos State Safety Commission, they acted. Within 5 days, that building was pulled down.
There you go. Well, it's good to
So-
hear that, that actually
They may not be.
they might be overwhelmed, but
At times they have their own.
They are trying.
That's why I'm saying that
Well,
they have their
with-
own internal issues to deal with, and
Okay.
to see, okay, are we using the right professionals? Are we using the right set of people? Are people also going for training? Because what you find out that those people on the field are not the ones going for the training, the mandatory trainings.
Yeah.
They are those people at the top of. No, seriously.
I know. So we're going
You
to have
also
to leave
said
it
so
here.
you have to,
We've run out of time.
All right.
But it's been quite informative, and thank you to Maazi Okora for Inaruchukwu and Adebayo, who called in from the UK on this matter as well. Well, we keep on coming and airing it from time to time. Thank you very much, Mr. Hassan B. Hassan, construction safety expert.